Hey all, I've got an actual Justice Warrior video today. 60 Minutes exposes California high-speed rail disaster. Let's see let's see how Mr. Governor Newsom has screwed up this one as well. I know that high-speed rail has been in development for a long time, and now it's not even going from where it intended to go to, like, it's like both ends have been shrunk, so it's not going from the start or the end point anymore or something. Like, just horribly mismanaged, but I wouldn't expect anything else from California. Anyways, let's jump into it.
It's hard to exaggerate the role of the train in the American story, or the romance of train travel, those iron horses galloping down tracks of steel.
Well, let's hope that they don't try and hit my channel too.
Why then has high-speed rail, so common in other countries, not tracked in the U.S.? And if,
by the way, this CBS has decided to copyright troll me. This is on Actual Justice Warriors video. I didn't put this here, so we'll see if this protects the both of us.
ambitious state-run project connecting LA and San Francisco has lurched, derailed, cost billions, and may never happen.
So 60 Minutes recently did a segment on California's nightmare of a high-speed rail project, which is something that we talked about multiple different times on this channel. But for those of you who are unaware of the specifics of this project, essentially it goes as follows. In 2008, there was a ballot initiative. Like all terrible ideas in the state of California, they go and get voter approval first, and according to this ballot initiative, they were getting funding and approval for a project that would run from San Francisco to Los Angeles, eventually be connected to Sacramento, and of course be connected to San Diego, and it was supposed to be America's first high-speed rail line at an estimated cost of like $33 billion. Now, this project was supposed to be done by 2020. 2020, guys. Now,
so we're 6 years over, and I'm fairly certain it's not done yet.
For those of you who aren't good at math, for those of you who are a bit confused about how linear time works, 2020 is actually 6 years ago. So 6 years ago, Californians were supposed to have a project that was completed that would allow them to...
I love the way Actual Justice Warrior talks. He like talks just like we're idiots. For those that don't know linear time, how linear time works, dude, you're hilarious.
Go on a train traveling at around 220 miles an hour from Los Angeles to San Francisco. And to be clear, I'm not saying inherently this was a terrible idea. However, in the state of California, with their regulatory system, with all the problems in the fact that they didn't even have an actual route and right of way in order to build this thing, this was absolutely a horrible idea. And this is what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money.
Give you the money?
Give me the money. Okay?
Today, the state's high-speed rail authority is preparing to lay its first tracks at roughly the same cost. Only slight course correction here. Instead of LA to San Francisco, it will run 1/3 of that distance, connecting, wait for it, the metropolis of Bakersfield and Merced. If I vote
Only 1/3 of the distance? I knew that it wasn't going as far on either side, but I assumed it was like just outside of those cities. Going 1/3 the distance is wild.
for a mansion in Malibu by next year, and someone says, actually, you know what, in 5 years, we're going to have a doghouse in Modesto. How do things go so off the rails?
So there are a number of things wrong with this project, wrong with its inception, and first and foremost, the number one thing is that this train is being built right now in the state of California, or it's not being built in the state of California and still costing billions upon billions of dollars. In fact, according to this 60 Minutes segment, the locals around the area where they started to build the bridge that the tracks will theoretically at some point in time in the future be laid upon actually refer to these structures as their own Stonehenge, as they are mysterious stone structures that serve no real purpose and nobody has any idea what they're there for.
Locals here jokingly refer to it as their own Stonehenge. Ideally, these bridges and viaducts will one day be used to support California high-speed rail. But for now, these are curiosities in a field. Monuments to promises that haven't been met and plans that haven't been executed.
But again, part of the many problems of this is, of course, California's insane regulatory bodies in that you have to do environmental review after environmental review. But in addition to that, they didn't actually have right of way in order to build this particular project, which means that they actually had to negotiate with all the individual landowners for each parcel along the route in order to run a train through that particular area. And
They freaking passed it and are spending all of this money and they didn't even have the right to build it yet. Oh my God, the California is dumb. No, not individual Californians. I'm sure many of you are lovely. I know some Californians who are great people and are not dumb and recognize the stupidity that is happening in that state. But good Lord, what the hell have you done to that state?
As this 60-minute segment ends up describing, for just the narrowed route, which by the way is in between San Francisco and Los Angeles,
3,000 parcels had to be negotiated just for the segments that we're working on today in the Central Valley.
It seems to me one farmer doesn't want high-speed rail going through his field, and you've got a guy that can gum up the works for a long time.
Well, yeah, gum up the works. It's not him gumming up the works, it's his property. What the hell is that framing? Oh, he could gum up the works and prevent you from building this thing. Oh, he's causing trouble. He's not causing trouble. It's his property. You don't have a right to be there.
Yeah, that's what happens sometimes in these processes.
From Bakersfield to Merced, this actually requires negotiations with thousands upon thousands of property owners, and obviously that is going to produce a ridiculous delay. But in addition to that, in addition to those negotiations and each of those people having the ability to not sell and then do lawsuits, end up in eminent domain issues and all sorts of things, you also have the environmental review process, which is extensive in the state of California. And considering that the whole purpose of this project in theory is to get cars off the road and have people travel through much cleaner train travel, it would seem like this environmental review would be relatively easy. But I think I remember looking this up, and this particular project, which was a California state project, spent about 12 to 13 years in environmental review.
Good Lord. What kind of environmental review do they need to do? I understand that it's going to be passing through areas that might have animals or whatever, and so they want to protect the animals. But don't you think that people taking the train is going to be much, much better for the environment than people driving their cars along? Like, I don't know, this seems so... Oh, why? Oh, I hate bureaucracy. I hate it. I hate the red tape. I hate how it prevents people from progressing and doing anything useful or helpful. And I'm not even like totally on board with the idea of them having the high-speed rail. I'm not against the idea either. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. It's in California. It doesn't really affect me. But good Lord, I do not want to have to deal with that Californian bureaucracy. Oh, it's so good to not be anywhere near that state.
And I think finally they've cleared it again for this narrower version of the project. Now again, while all that stuff, the regulatory burdens, the issues with property rights that are absolutely serious, and of course the fact that they didn't actually have a route planned out when they put this on the ballot, has caused them to spend billions upon billions of dollars and lay absolutely...
Them not having a route planned out beforehand makes me think that they didn't actually expect it to pass. It's like they put it, my guess, now this is just a huge assumption on my part, but my guess is that they assumed that it wouldn't pass, but it's something they could put on the ballot as a like, look at us, we're trying to do something nice. And then if anybody votes against it, they could use that as a way to say, oh, you are against environmental beneficial programs such as the high-speed rail. But again, if they didn't expect it to pass to begin with, they wouldn't have needed a route. They wouldn't have needed to make sure they have the rights to these things. It sounds to me like it's purely a political play that that went wrong. But I don't know. It could just be poor planning.
No track at this moment in time, when again, this particular train line is now 6 years late. And in fact, the new date for this to potentially open is in 2033. But I will just say
2033, another 7 years. 13 years late is what they're anticipating at this point, which means it's going to be another 5 years after that, at least, if they don't just scrap the project altogether. And it becoming just well, it's already, they've wasted lots of taxpayer money, but it's going to be a complete waste of taxpayer money because nothing comes out of it.
Right now, at this moment, I'm gonna call my shot. Not likely, not very likely to happen at all whatsoever.
I agree.
Because California has proven time and time again they can't do anything. But in addition to that, there's also other issues that are with this.
They get in their own way. It's the same with them and their. It's the same with their housing issues, where they get in their own way and try and force developers to build in specific ways. And I'm not just saying like you can't have regulations that make sure housing is safe, but they try to force developers to build in ways that push to extremes that make it so it's unprofitable for developers to build. And so they don't build. And like, what do you expect? Oh no, we don't have enough houses. Well, we should build more houses. Yes, but they have to build them like this, and they can't make any money off of it. Like, well, why is anyone going to go through the work and the effort and the risk involved in building a house if you're not going to be able to make any money out of it? I mean, it seems pretty straightforward to me, but they keep getting in their own way. They're like that meme of the person riding the bicycle sticking the stick into the front wheel of the bike and then toppling over and being like, why did this happen? Quick video interruption. I've been putting out at least one video a day. If I brought you any enjoyment, I would appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I do read all of them. Thanks. Back to the video.
Project that have to do with their funding, and we're talking about their specific federal funding, because while of course the state budget has poured in billions of dollars into this project, it's been an absolute disaster. Again, it 4x the cost from 33 billion to 120 billion. It is likely going to jump up again to about 135 billion, and again, this is for the reduced portion of this that connects two much smaller towns than San Francisco and Los Angeles.
$135 billion wasted.
Which you would need in order for this train to be anywhere near remotely viable. But of course, there's also the issue of the terms of conditions of the federal grants that were taken by the state of California in order to do this project. Because it is not just the fact that they cannot get their approval in San Francisco and LA that had made the state of California decide that they were going to start with the middle bit in the Central Valley rather than actually, you know, with the places that you are trying to connect. Like, they're not even connecting LA to the Central Valley or of course San Francisco to it. They're just gonna do the Central Valley at first and then say, look, what a great success, we have to extend this once it's actually built. But again, that's not for no reason, because it turns out part of the federal grants that they ended up getting for this particular project, and by the way, this has to do with the mission creep that the Democratic Party very often puts in their legislation in order to build anything, was related to reducing pollution in rural areas. So essentially, if they don't build out at a certain period of time, or at least break ground on this construction in the middle bit of this particular project, they're going to have to give back billions upon billions of dollars in grant money from the feds, and this is due to the fact that the feds specifically allocated that money for projects that, again, have to be done in rural areas in order to reduce pollution.
Good. Give the money back. Cancel the project at this point. Cut your losses. Ignore the sunk cost fallacy. Cut your losses. Give the money back. Move on.
But the thing is, obviously, this train needs to operate in higher end, higher density areas in order to be profitable. So essentially, you have a federal grant that runs contrary to the only thing that is going to make this potentially successful. And again, that's even if people want to take the train, if it is ever built.
A new federal report targeting a high-speed rail project in California identified missed deadlines, budget shortfalls, and other critical flaws that could lead the Trump administration to revoke $4 billion in grants. This comes after the Department of Transportation began investigating the project in February.
In fact, that segment from last year from CBS News as well. CBS News is also the company that does 60 Minutes. By the way, everything will be linked in the description and labeled for you guys out there in the audience. Actually talked about a study that was commissioned by the Trump administration, by their Department of Transit, that essentially is making the case that California, in not building anything, has violated the terms of that anti-pollution grant. Therefore, they're trying to claw back this money at this moment in time.
Good. Like I said, give the money back. Get the money back. Pay off some of the national debt with it. I know it's a drop in the bucket, like not even a drop, but you know, do something better with the money than waste it on California's horrid, wasteful spending.
Which again will delay this project even further, but maybe deservedly so, because even though they sunk a lot of money into it, I believe they're at around 16 or 18 billion dollars right now at this moment in time, which by the way is over half of the initial proposed budget for this high-speed rail project that was supposed to open 6 years ago. They haven't laid a mile of track. They haven't done anything to mitigate pollution, and considering there's no cars being removed from the road, but they're doing all this construction in the middle of this area, that means that they're likely adding to pollution.
Yeah, they are.
Which again makes this a more disastrous project than it ever needed to be. And if you want to know why we can't build things in the United States of America, especially when there's federal government funding attached to it, this is exactly why. Because what you end up having with the funding is strings that conflict with the inherent mission of the project. Again, if this was about reducing the travel time between these high population, high economic activity cities, then what you would want to do is make sure you're at least doing LA to San Francisco, or even LA to the Central Valley, or San Francisco to the Central Valley. But again, due to the terms and conditions of that pollution related grant, they can't actually do that. They have to focus on some of the least viable territory that again has many.
They shouldn't have got that grant to begin with then. If that wasn't their goal, if their goal wasn't about the Central Valley, then they should have just not got that grant. If the goal was to decrease the time that it takes to get from the, what did he say, LA to Los Angeles, or LA is Los Angeles, Sacramento? Where did he say it's going to? God, I don't remember. I can't keep track of California and their bullshit.
Many problems in terms of land acquisition, environmental review, and other issues like that. In addition to that, we also have the problem because, again, the thing being built isn't actually the mission of...
Oh, good. Governor Newsom announces blah, blah, blah. Oh, good. Governor Newsom announces major high-speed rail milestone track installation to begin. I was really curious. Oh, this just came out this year in February. I was really curious to hear Newsom's take on this because, man, that guy is a moron, and I find it hilarious to watch him. But I really, really hope California can remove him as your governor, remove him from office. Do not vote for him again because he is not doing your state any favors.
The fact that politicians would rather celebrate the jobs created than, actually have the thing that is supposed to be created. So right around the time that 60 Minutes ran this segment, Governor Gavin Newsom of California ended up posting something about how this has created 16,000 temporary or permanent construction jobs because they'll be building this forever. It might actually be permanent.
Creating jobs isn't good if you're not creating something with those jobs. It's like, if you have money, you can pay someone to just go break up rocks in a quarry somewhere. But even that is at least like turning big rocks into little rocks, and then you have little rocks for gravel or whatever. But I mean, you can pay someone to just write the words "I am working" on a piece of paper over and over and over again. And then you're technically creating a job. But if that job doesn't make anything productive, then you are just wasting money. That's not helpful to the economy. Creating jobs is helpful when the jobs are productive.
Permanent, and this is a good thing because they're at union wage, and the reason for that is because there's a federal grant involved, so it's subject to Davis-Bacon, and for some reason we're supposed to be celebrating this. And yeah, if you're working those jobs, if you're building or not building this rail but doing construction, that's good for you. But this is the exact problem that we always run into with these projects. Again, they're never about getting the thing, they're always about building the thing forever, and that is a disaster in every way. Now, of course, I have been posting online about how in Orlando, Florida, the train that goes to Miami, they were able to build the Bright Line in, I believe, about 5 years or 4 years on a budget of $5 billion. Now, the Bright Line is not actually high-speed rail. It doesn't go over 150 miles an hour, which apparently is the standard, but it goes 125 miles an hour, and it is a testament to the state of Florida that they were able to do this, although I will point out that there were existing tracks for the Bright Line to build on and connect and expand, and of course
Well, then it sounds like they did it in a smarter way, that they were able to use the existing tracks. Like, I don't think that's something to like shame them for or say that it wasn't a good project because of it. I think that's smart. They utilized what they had to make something better. Fantastic job, Florida.
Regulatory environment in Florida is significantly better. In addition to that, while
Yep.
Brightline does get some taxpayer money, in reality, this project was largely privately funded, and therefore there is not the incentive to expand the spending, hire as many people as possible, because again, in Florida, when you want to build something, it's not about perpetually building something, it's about getting the thing that you want to build. And
But it is in California. I mean, look at that bridge to nowhere, that wilderness bridge or whatever that's been in development for who knows how many years in California. That's just a useless bridge that's not even like connected to the ground, just elevated platform for, well, no use as of right now. Maybe someday. I don't have a lot of hope that California will figure that out, though.
of course, Brightline is thinking about extending all the way to Tampa, which means they won't have high-speed rail in Florida, but you might have rail that connects from Tampa all the way to Miami in a reasonably fast period of time, which is rather impressive. Now, of course, Brightline has its own financial troubles. In addition to that, Brightline hits an inordinate number of people, but I will point out that federal investigators under the Biden administration have determined that every single person hit and killed by the train, it was actually their fault. And in fact, we might do a segment on this in the future because people are like, I had no idea, or my family member had no idea a train would be coming when they were walking on the train track, which is just stupid and ridiculous.
Yeah, that's pretty dumb. Yeah, the trains go on train tracks. In fact, famously, trains do not go anywhere except for train tracks. It's the only place that they go. So, yeah, you would expect if you're on a train track that you will see a train. That's pretty common sense, I think.
Not to mention the people who go under the barrier thinking that they could outspeed the train only to get hit by it going 125 miles an hour.
What are the? What? Do people have? Some people just have suicidal stupidity. You've heard of suicidal empathy. This is suicidal stupidity.
And yeah, obviously there are problems with that train line, but the fact is it actually exists. It was built. Nobody was against it or nobody hated it all that much. And in California, you can't get anywhere with significantly more money. It's absurd. It's insane. It's asinine, but this is what you can expect. Now, of course, the CBS News segment, the 60 Minutes one, ends up talking about how Brightline, the same company, is trying to go from Los Angeles to Las Vegas and how they want federal grants for this. But even with the federal grants, the estimated budget for that is going to be around $23 billion, which of course should beg the question, why was high-speed rail in California from San Francisco to Los Angeles budgeted at $33 billion to start, and why did it balloon to over $120 billion?
Just to be clear, as we speak right now, are the funds there to complete LA to San Francisco?
The entire amount of money we need, not there today. But do we believe we can get those funds to get the project done? Absolutely.
They just want more money. Just always more, always more. You're already at more than what was originally planned, and that's just for the tiny portion in the middle. And you just want more money, and you want to keep it going.
How much do you estimate it's going to cost to connect high-speed rail San Francisco to LA?
Today, we estimate with the right optimization, just over $125 billion. I think $126 billion is the current estimate for that.
That is so much money.
That's more funding than Amtrak has received in its history and still leaves a shortfall of roughly $90 billion.
Honestly, it's just embarrassing in every way to look at this particular project. It is a stunning reminder of the failures of California. And as Ezra Klein pointed out in his book Abundance and in subsequent interviews related to that book, one of the problems with California high-speed rail is that if they tried to do it again, the same exact thing would happen. The same exact boondoggle would occur. The same exact disaster would occur. And other than the taxpayer dollars that have been incinerated on this project so far, that is probably the biggest tragedy because they haven't learned a single thing. They haven't improved their system. And again, they're still going to propose these massive projects that are destined for failure.
The people that can improve the system in California, the people empowered to improve the system, don't want to improve the system because improving the system, in fact, reduces their power in some way. It reduces the regulation power that they have over companies and over projects. And they don't want that. They want to maintain their power. And I mean, that it's a very simple incentive, but incentives drive results.
To maximize the embarrassment even more, there's actually a proposal in the state of Texas right now to build high-speed rail that would be going around 220 miles an hour, modeled after the Japanese trains. And if this were to actually get approved, you can guarantee that connecting the Texas Triangle, Austin to Houston to Dallas, will definitely 100% occur way faster than California ever gets this little miniature line that's biggest hub is Bakersfield, because California is a failed state in every way imaginable. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about California's high-speed rail embarrassment. Till next time.
Hey, all those things go for me too. Follow me on social media, subscribe to my channel, like this video if you liked the video. And yeah, I agree that California is a pretty failed state. I don't anticipate anything really fixing. Nothing's going to happen as long as they keep putting basically communists in power. It's just the way it is. Hopefully California, I don't see LA ever breaking out of that, at least not in the next 50 years. But maybe California can pass something to break up their state into smaller states, because I know there's been a push in the past for like Northern California to break off to be its own thing, to separate itself from Southern California, because not everyone in California believes what the crazies in LA believe. But anyways, that was that video. Thanks everyone. Oh no, you've ended up in my den. You must think that this is the end, but you have no need to fret. There's still more to come yet. Click on subscribe to let YouTube know just how far this channel should go. More will come later, or if you so need, click on another video to see more of me in your feed.